Hey there everyone, welcome back. In this part, we are going to build the front-end website that allows users to upload their images. We'll be using Route 53, CloudFront, AWS Certificate Manager, S3, and AWS IAM. So here's what we are going to build in this part. If you remember, in part 2 of this series, we built this architecture from scratch. I highly recommend you to take a look at that video if you haven't. So the part of this architecture diagram that is not blurred is what we are going to build in this part. We will first look at two different ways to host this website on AWS, from a very simple setup, which is using a public S3 bucket, to a more production grade architecture where we use Route 53, CloudFront, ACM, etc. By the end of this video, we'll have a website accessible using our custom domain hosted on the AWS platform. Before jumping into implementation, it is important to understand how we are going to host the website. We have two options in front of us. The first one, it's simple. We will use a public S3 bucket with static website hosting enabled. And the second one is more production grade, where our S3 bucket remains private and we'll use the services like CloudFront, Route 53, and ACM. Now, both options have certain pros and cons. The first option is very easy to set up. It is low cost, it's quick for demos. So if you are looking at this exercise purely as a learning tool, there is no harm hosting our website in a public S3 bucket. But this is definitely not production ready. The bucket is public, it increases the risk of data leak. It doesn't have HTTPS by default, so it's low on security. Versus if we look at the second option, our bucket remains private, so it is more secure. It also offers a better DDoS protection through CloudFront. So CloudFront has AWS Shield standard enabled by default. We also get HTTPS because of the ACM. We get our custom domain. And again, because CloudFront caches the content at the edge, we get a better CDN performance. It requires more setup. It has slightly higher cost, but believe me, it's worth it. And in production systems, we will never use a public S3 bucket with static website hosting. This option comes very close to what the production grade systems use. I will show you both the approaches, but for building the application, we'll go ahead with the more robust option of using CloudFront, Route 53 ACM, and keeping our S3 bucket private. All right, let's actually build this application. Okay, then as you can see, I have logged into my AWS management account. Just as a note, I'm using two different accounts. One is our management account, which is what I'm logged in here, but I'm also using the demo account, and the reason I'm doing it is to keep the resources separate. So the demo account is very clean. Management account is where I do most of the experiments and my testing. That way the resources in both these accounts do not interfere with each other. So that's the advantage of using AWS organizations to create multiple organization units. Helps to keep your resources separate. Okay, without further ado, let's start with our website. Now, the first thing before we host the website is we actually need the website content. We need the HTML, CSS, JavaScript files. And that is not core AWS. I did not want to spend time coding it in front of you. So instead what I did was I used Codex to generate the website content. And to be honest, the prompt that I gave it to, I think it's a basic prompt, is definitely not something that is very polished. So essentially I asked Codex to create the HTML, CSS, and JS files. I defined the purpose. I defined the form fields and their properties. I also had a little bit of information about how the website should look like. And again, the goal is not to have the most beautiful website or something that is very interactive. We do want a basic website that allows users to upload their images. Specified that. and it asked me to upload the logo that I wanted to use in our website. And once I did that, it actually created the HTML, CSS, and JS files. So let's quickly take a look at that. So as you can see, it created index.html, the script.js, and styles.css. So quick look at the index.html. So if I open that, okay, so yeah, looks like it had the name, email, the file choose, upload and clear button. So what we have specified as our requirements. And then let's look at the script.js quickly. Okay, so I did specify in the prompt that I'm going to use the API gateway, and I asked it, define the API URL as a placeholder. So if you look at the prompt here, and I will upload this entire prompt in the GitHub as well. So if you want to take a look at it in more details, you can. Okay, and it had the, let's see. Okay, so it had the validation for the email. If it has the allowed extensions, file name. Remember, we are only going to allow users to upload JPG or PNG files. It also has the validate text field function to check the required fields. Okay, and it has the max file size. We specified as per our requirements that our website should allow users to upload the image files only up to 5 MB. So it has the validation for that. It added it. So far it looks like it did a pretty good job. Obviously it is not functioning right now because A, we haven't actually hosted this website, and B, we haven't specified the API URL. But let's start with our first approach to host the website. Now that we have the content of the website with us. So let's go to, and in this case, actually, I'm going to switch to my demo organization unit, which I put it in a incognito window so I can access both accounts at the same time. So this is my demo OU, as you can see, demo account here. Okay. So let's host the website using option 1, that is the public S3 bucket with static website hosting enabled. Because I have used S3 recently, it is available for me in the recently visited widget. If it is not available for you, you can go to the top search bar and type S3. Okay. I do not have any buckets created in this demo account, and precisely that's the purpose of using a demo account, to keep it clean. So I will start by creating a bucket. So let's create a bucket. General purpose, global namespace. Let's specify the name as image moderation app website, and I'm going to add just some random numbers to be safe. The reason for that is the S3 bucket names need to be globally unique. What do I mean by globally unique? So the name that you have specified has to be unique across all the S3 buckets created across all AWS accounts. So that's the reason why I added some numbers at the end, random numbers, to ensure that it is unique. Scrolling down, let's deselect block all public access, because remember, in option 1 we are going to make our S3 bucket public. So let's do that, and as soon as I do that, AWS wants me that this might result in this bucket and objects within this becoming public, and AWS recommends you to turn on block all public access unless it is required for any specific and verified use cases such as static website hosting. Okay, so let's acknowledge that. I'm keeping bucket versioning disabled, and I'm keeping all the default options as is, and I'm going to create a bucket. Okay, the bucket is now created. Now let's upload our website content to it. So let's click on upload. Let's say add files. And these are our files that Codex created for us. So I'm going to put that, okay, and say upload. Okay, so all the files are uploaded now. So now we have a S3 bucket with the website content in. So let's enable the static website hosting. The way to do that is, let's go to properties and scroll all the way down. You'll see static website hosting, create edit, or click on edit and enable the static website hosting. So now it will ask you to provide the index document and the error document. The error document is optional. We haven't created one, but we did create index.html. And remember, this name can be different. We just have to specify when the URL is accessed, what page it is going to serve. So it can be anything, a.html, b.html, etc. We have created index.html, so I'm going to put that in here. And I'm going to save the changes. Okay, so now if you scroll all the way down again, in the static website hosting section, you will see it is enabled. And now it has given us the website endpoint. So if I copy this endpoint, open up a new tab and put this. Okay, so it is not HTTPS enabled. We talked about that earlier. But then it says 403 forbidden. Okay, so we got 403. Why did we get 403? We made our bucket public. So why we are forbidden from accessing the content? The reason being, even though our bucket is public, the objects inside the bucket by default are not. We need to provide a proper bucket policy. We need to specify a proper bucket policy in order for our website to work here. So let's go back to our bucket, scroll up and click on permissions. So as you can see, we do not have any bucket policy right now. So let's add that. So click on edit, select a statement. So we need to give the permission to access or get S3 objects. So first the service is S3, S3. And let's choose the get object method. Okay. All right. For the SID, let's just say S3 public get for website. And for the principal, we can say star, which means anyone can get the objects. And we need to specify the resource. So resource is going to be the bucket's ARN. So I'm going to open it in new tab and copy the ARN from there. So if you go to properties, you will see the ARN for this S3 bucket. So let's copy that. And I'm going to allow accessing all the objects in this bucket. So hence the / and stars. Okay. I'm going to save the changes. Okay, so now we have a public bucket with a proper bucket policy, and we have the required files in that S3 bucket. So now let's try accessing our website again. So let's refresh this and voila, here you go. So this is a way to host our website using static S3 bucket or static website using public S3 bucket. As you can see, we have the name, email. So this is what the codex is created for us. Obviously it is not doing anything right now because we haven't wired the necessary services, but we have a functioning website right now that can be accessed anywhere from public internet, which is an awesome thing. And it was very quick, as you can see. Okay, now that we have seen how to host a website using a public S3 bucket, let's upgrade it to something better, that is using CloudFront, ACM, Route 53, etc. So before we do that, I want to disable the public hosting setting for the S3 bucket. So let's go back to our bucket. I am going to delete this permission because I don't want anyone to get access to it. So let's say delete. Okay, and the second thing that I want to do is go down in the properties and disable the static website hosting. Okay, so now our bucket is still has the objects that we uploaded, the website files, but it is no longer public. And if I refresh the page now, it says 404 because we have disabled the static website hosting. Okay, so let's do something that is more production grade now. So in order to do that, let's start with our website domain. So let me go back to my management account. And if I go to, so we can register a custom domain for us using Route 53. If I click on Route 53, and again, if you do not have that in your recently visited tab, you can just search Route 53 at the top and get it to Route 53 from there. So if you scroll down to domains and see registered domain, as you can see, I already registered simpleawstutorials.com. But let's say if you want to register a new one, you can click on register domains here and you can enter a domain name. So let's say, for example, we say AWS is awesome. Let's see if that domain is available or not. Okay. So awsisawesome.com is not available, but the other domains are available. AWS awesome, awsisawesome.net, .org, etc. And also list the pricing per year if you decide to purchase this domain name. If you, just for the sake of example, if we select this, you can go and proceed to for checkout, and you can enter this is the pricing information. You can enter your contact information and essentially register this domain name for you. It's pretty simple, so I'm not going to go in details about this, but as you can see, we already have our domain registered here. And for the purpose of demonstration, I'm going to use a subdomain to our registered domain of simpleawstutorials.com. So I'm going to use www.imdemo.simpleawstutorials.com. So the first thing that I'm going to do is create a hosted zone in our demo OU for our subdomain. So this is our demo OU. So if you go to Route 53, you can type Route 53 here. And if you go to hosted zone, we do not have any hosted zone here. So let's create one for our subdomain. So for the domain name, I'm going to say imdemo.simpleawstutorials.com. And I'm going to keep everything else as default. I'm going to create this zone. And as soon as this zone is created, AWS creates these name servers for us. So I'm going to copy these name servers in our in the hosted zone of our simpleawstutorials.com domain. So if I go to my management account, because the management account is actually controlling the base domain, which is simpleawstutorials.com. If I go to Route 53 and if I go to hosted zones, you can see this domain is controlled by our master management account. So if I click here, and I'm going to create this NS record. So subdomain is imdemo imdemo.simpleawstutorials.com, and this is NS record. So I'm going to select NS, and for the value, I'm going to paste the values that we copied from our demo OU, and I'm going to create this record. Okay, so now the imdemo.simpleawstutorials.com is controlled by our demo OU. So I'm going to go back to our demo OU and I'm going to request a certificate now to enable HTTPS. So I'm going to open it with a new tab And again, I have certificate manager here, but if you do not, you can just type certificate manager at the top and come here. We do not have any certificates right now, so let's request one for our subdomain. Okay, so request a public certificate. And for the fully qualified domain name, I'm going to enter star.imdemo.simpleawstutorials.com. And I'm going to keep everything as default. Validation is going to be DNS validation, which is recommended. So I'm going to request it. Okay. The certificate is now created, or actually it is requested. It is pending validation, but it has created the CNAME record for us. So I'm going to copy the CNAME record here in our hosted zone. So let me copy this is important that we copy only the first part here. Okay. I'm going to go to our hosted zone and I'm going to create a CNAME record in here. So create record. And this is our subdomain. Make sure that you remove any spaces and this extra dot here. And it's a CNAME record. And for the value, we will copy the CNAME value that our certificate has given to us. So copy. Okay. And now let's create this record. Alright, so let's see now if the certificate has been issued. It is still pending validation, so I'm going to pause this video and resume when we have a certificate issued. Okay, now that the certificate is created or issued, as you can see the status has changed to issued now. So let's do a CloudFront distribution that points to our S3 bucket. Now remember, this S3 bucket now is a private S3 bucket. Let's go to CloudFront and let's create a distribution. So as you can see, there are some options when we create a distribution in terms of choosing the plan. So even with a free plan, as you can see here, you get the protections against DDoS, IP-based rate limiting, common threats with AWS WAF, so on and so forth. So right off the bat, it is a much better option security wise compared to our earlier option where we hosted the website using a public S3 bucket. Okay, for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to choose pay as you go, just because it's easy to delete the distribution later. If you choose any of these plans, you have to wait until the end of the billing cycle if you want to delete the CloudFront distribution. Pay as you go, you can do it anytime. So I'm going to choose pay as you go for the time being, but depending on your use case, one of these plans might be better suited for you. Okay, so click on next. All right, so I'm just going to say distribution name as IMDemo website distribution. For the domain, let's put our subdomain that we created. So imdemo.simpleawstutorials.com. Copy this. Actually, let's do www. Okay, so domain is managed by Route 53. All right, let's go to next screen here. And our origin type, where we want to point this domain to, is we want to point it to an S3 bucket. So if you select browse S3, and this is the website that we have made, or this is the S3 bucket that we have made private now, that has our files for our website. So let's select that, say choose. And let's keep everything as default. Enable security protections. Let's keep its default. Go to next setting, get a TLS certificate. So this is the certificate. So let's go back to our ACM just to verify that the certificate selected is what we created. So this is our certificate. Starts with DF, ends with 6DA3. DF 6DA3. So this is the certificate that we created. So we are going to associate this certificate. Click on next. And let's create the distribution. Okay. So we have created a new distribution and right now it is deploying. So once it is enabled, I'll pause the video right now and we'll come back when the distribution is enabled. Okay, so as you can see, the distribution is deployed. We see the last modified date here. Earlier it was showing deploying. Now we have to do a couple of things. So first, let's go to the distribution and specify what object in the S3 bucket it should access by default. So if you see here, default root object, right now it is blank. We should specify the index.html. So let me do that. And I'll save the changes. And this will again go in the deploying mode. So while it is deploying, let's add an A record to our hosted zone that points to this CloudFront distribution. So let's go to our route 53 and from route 53 go to our hosted zone. This is our hosted zone. We have the records for name servers, SOA and CNAME. So let's add another record for CloudFront distribution. So create record. And our domain is subdomain is www.imdemo.simpleawstutorials.com. Now it's a record, so I'm not changing anything here. And now instead of specifying an IP address, I'm going to choose an alias here. And from here, I'm going to choose CloudFront distribution. So whenever anyone accesses this URL, it will route the traffic to the CloudFront distribution. And what CloudFront distribution is? This is our CloudFront that we created. And in turns, this CloudFront distribution will by default load our index.html file. So once we make the changes and the changes are deployed, we should be able to access our website using www.imdemo.simpleawstutorials.com. So let's create the record. Okay, the record has been created. Now let's see if we can access our website. It might take some time. Oh no, actually it did. So as you can see, it took some time, but for multitude of reasons, this is a way better solution than hosting a website through a public S3 bucket. Okay, so now we have our website up and running. So in the next part, we will focus upon wiring different services to actually make this website functional. That is to allow users to select a file and actually upload images to our S3 bucket. So if you like this video, please consider subscribing to this channel and please share your feedback in the comment section. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next part.